Ducky, stop licking. Please. I'm so sorry. I got
It sets the mood.
she's licking her bowl and like looking at me because I'm like literally 20 minutes late feeding her supper. So like anyway.
Welcome back to season 3, episode 2 of On the Porch with Front Porch Music.
On this week's episode, we have country artist Meghan Patrick join us.
We dug deep with Meghan Patrick this week, and we are so happy she was so willing to share and so vulnerable with her journey. We talked a little bit about her tough girl act and how she cares too. She cares too.
And we had a couple special guests in this episode, or a few special guests.
We did.
All 3 of Meg's dogs.
You can be heard.
You can hear in the background.
Throughout the conversation.
Begging for food.
Yes, we really interrupted their schedule that they have her on, unfortunately.
You might even hear my dog begging for food too, because I think she got the memo from Meghan's dogs.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Anyways, her brand new single, The Other Side of 25, is out. We dove in a little bit more about that song. It was, how your life does start to change and you start to prioritize different things, and maybe you start hammering back drinks at the bar a little less frequently.
We've had a lot of really great conversations on this podcast, but this one sticks out for me.
This was a big one. It was really great, so we hope you enjoyed as much as we did.
Here's Meghan Patrick.
Thanks, Meg Patrick, for joining us on the porch. Are you coming
to us
Meghan
live? Fucking Patrick.
Are you coming to us live from Nashville? Are you home?
Yep. I'm home. Yeah.
Lovely. How long do you get to hang out at home for? Because I know you have a really busy schedule this year.
I'm here till next Wednesday. So yeah, so I've got a little bit more time here at home. But honestly, I'm ready to get back at it. We actually got a real true vacation Christmas break this year, my husband and I, for the first time in probably our whole relationship. Usually we were one or both of us was on tour or on the road until December 22nd or 23rd, and then right back at it after that. So this year we took almost all of December off. We did our honeymoon. We got to go back to Canada to visit my family at Christmas. So we got a really solid Christmas break. So I'm actually kind of ready to get back to it.
Nice. How nice is that to start the new year and not be just still burnt out?
It was nice. It's a treat. I
don't recognize the feeling.
Yeah. I hadn't recognized the feeling in some time myself. So I'm definitely grateful for that.
No doubt. So now you're ready to hit the road. You're good to go.
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you have any pets at home or no?
I have 3 dogs.
Oh my God. Were they so happy to have you? So sucky?
Always. Yes. I'm actually surprised one is right under the table. The other's on the couch. Our big dog Cash I call him Velcro dog because he literally he follows me everywhere. When I go to the bathroom, he's right there. And even if I'm in the bathroom, doing my hair or my makeup, he is on my feet or right next to me. When I get on the couch, he is on top of me, but I love him. He's a sweet boy.
Neediness in a pet is adorable. Why is it neediness in a person? Not so much.
Absolutely not. Disgusting. Hate it. Get away from me.
But the dog, I'm please love me. Get on top of me. Just never leave.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm that's why I have you. I feed you. I put a roof over your head. I give you a great life. And in return, I expect nothing except unconditional love whenever I want it.
Yeah. When I say, come here.
Yeah.
You're going to come.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I hear my dog outside the door, actually.
She's let me in. So you have 3 dogs. What are the other 2?
So Annie was my dog. I got her in Canada actually before I moved to Nashville, probably a year or 2 before I moved here. And then Cash and Ducky are the other 2 dogs. They were Mitchell's dogs before I met him. And they're really sweet. Ducky's our oldest. She's getting kind of old and having a hard time, but she's a literal angel. She's never done anything wrong in her life, honestly.
My mom would listen to this and be like, my devil. She has a puppy. She hasn't had a puppy in years, and he's a little asshole. So
yeah, Annie does have a nickname of Annie the asshole. But she's calmed down a little bit in her older years. They all have. They're all Annie and Cash, I think, are 9 or almost 9, and Ducky's 10.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Annie, I think Annie's gonna live forever. Like she's still pretty insane.
The assholes always do.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
All right, so let's take it all the way back for a bit. Let's go back to the very beginning. When you were up in Canada, here in Ontario, you used to be a competitive snowboarder?
I did, yep.
Huh.
Logan read that show note and was like, pardon?
Yeah.
Where'd that go from?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up like my family was big into snow sports, both my parents, and so, I mean, I was in skis. My dad said that I was basically like skiing. I could barely walk, and he just like kind of put me in some ski boots, put me on a harness, and just went for it. And I don't know, I always loved it. And then when I got a little bit older, I wanted to snowboard. And one of my best friends growing up, Matt Morrison, he was a great snowboarder. Him and his mom actually were the people that kind of like taught me how to ride. And at one point he was like, hey, he's like, I think I'm gonna like start competing. I'm gonna like do this racing thing and whatever, and you should do it with me. And so yeah, I did giant slalom and slalom. My main focus was mostly racing. I did a little bit of like slope style and park kind of stuff as well for fun. But yeah, that was like for a long time, that was my big dream. I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I was like super focused on that all through high school. And then my senior year of high school, I was warming up actually in a slope style competition. I went off a jump. I went into it just way too fast and aggressively, and it had a lot more vert than I expected. And so I kind of like went straight up, like this is my head, this is my board. I kind of went straight up, and when I went to rotate, like I was kind of flailing back, like because the way it shot me up,
Mhm.
and so I like kind of overcorrected on my rotation, and I basically went like this and landed on like my shoulder slash head. So I snapped my collarbone, dislocated my shoulder, and then like my body like suitcased on top of my knee. So I broke my back, like severe compression fractures all through my lower back. Thankfully my spinal cord was okay. Like, I mean, I was really truly lucky to walk. I mean, the doctor told me that
Yeah.
I probably should have been paralyzed. Really severe concussion, which I definitely feel the effects of both those injuries a little bit. But yeah, that obviously changed things a little bit. And my parents, I had kind of made a deal with my parents. They really wanted me to go to university, and I really wanted to do the snowboarding thing. And so they had kind of made a deal, and they said, well, if you make the national development team, and like we're cool with you kind of deferring that. But then after that injury happened, I mean, one, it really like it shook me up quite a bit, because
Oh,
it was
yeah, no kidding.
it was
Traumatizing.
severe. It was a
Yeah.
severe injury, and like it was a really intense recovery. Like I was really depressed during that time. I lost a ton of weight. I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't like the painkillers they were giving me. So it was just like really a miserable time in my life. But I turned to music, honestly, a lot for healing, whether it was just like listening to music or writing lyrics or, whatever. That was just kind of like one of the few things that I had while I was like laid up healing. And, music had always kind of been there. I liked it. I started taking singing lessons when I was 12, and I played in some bands and stuff, like I always loved it. I just honestly hadn't ever like considered that I could really make a career out of it. And so when that happened, and my parents wanted me to go to school, and the only thing I really wanted to do or study was music. So I actually went to McGill to study opera originally.
Neat.
Yeah, I know, so random. I mean, it was just when I started taking singing lessons, my vocal teacher, my first teacher, she taught me a lot of classical stuff. I had a really big, powerful voice, and so she was like, you should do this. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool that my voice can do this, and then, yeah, I got into my first year there and quickly realized that was not for me.
A career in opera is not.
Yeah,
not
I mean, I was passionate about singing and music, and I find the music beautiful and challenging, and I like kind of enjoyed the work of like learning it and everything, but I wasn't really passionate about it like as a genre. And I was, my own musical tastes were growing. I was in a place where I kind of wanted to start writing my own music, and I wasn't writing opera. I wasn't composing operas. was writing really angsty, sad music because I was an
Angsty and sad.
teenager.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so but it was, I'm glad I did go to school. I played in a funk band while I was there, and like this 10-piece Tower of Power thing with some guys that I met at school, and like that was, that kind of really helped me, get some chops as a songwriter and as a performer, and gave me kind of a first taste of like touring a little bit. We made some records. So yeah, all of that kind of snowballed into and led me into where I am now.
And I'm sure like in that kind of classical environment, you probably learned a lot of technique and like
Yeah,
technical stuff that really helped you along the way, I'm sure.
100%. I mean, I'm like I said, I don't have a lot of regrets. I've got like a few, but like, at the end of the day, as far as like my musical journey goes, I'm a country singer and I write country music, but I also am just like I'm a music lover. I love creating music, and I like writing all different styles of music, and I appreciate all different styles of music. And I think just country is I kind of just naturally found my way there, because when I started writing songs by myself, I played in all these different bands, and I was always collaborating and like a part of a collective, a band. I had never really been a solo artist before. And when I finally, after all of those different bands I got out of, and I finally got to a place where I was like, okay, I'm just Meghan Patrick now. Like, who is Meghan Patrick? And when I started writing songs just by myself, as opposed to like collaborating with other band members, like they're country songs. I wasn't trying to make them that. That's just kind of like how they came out of me. So yeah.
Well, it's all about a good story. So
Yeah. Well, and
that's what it is.
I think that was what appealed to me about it. There are some styles of music that I love sheerly for the musicality, the melodies, the arrangements, the chord progression, stuff like that. But when it came to songwriting, it was always the storytelling songs that I always felt really drawn to, and to me that's quintessential great country music is the storytelling. And I listened to a lot of like country adjacent things too growing up that were very centered around storytelling. So yeah, that's I mean, I love challenging myself to write all different sorts of things, but I love, those are the kind of songs I really like to write, that I gravitate towards.
So when you left opera school, when you left McGill,
Yep.
I say drop out, but like that just seems like a unnecessary term.
Oh,
But
whatever. I dropped out. Who cares? Like, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to not know
Absolutely.
exactly who you are and what you want to do at 18 years old. And it's okay to try something and decide this isn't for me,
Yeah.
And look, I mean, I'm very blessed. My parents, they saved up, and I was very grateful and very blessed to be able to go to university and experience that. And I know that's not always available to everybody. And I'm grateful for it. And the thing for me at the end of the day, and I think my parents would agree, honestly, like in hindsight now, I don't think they were like super stoked about it when I told them I was dropping out, but they supported me, they kind of just said like, we support you, not financially
anymore. Yeah.
Like you're on your own there, which is totally cool. And again, I'm glad they did that, because I mean, that lit a fire under me. I had to make it work. I had to figure out how to make money off of it really quickly. I had to go work a lot of like shitty jobs that I hated to supplement while I figured out how to make money off of music. I busked on sidewalks and in subway stations for, change and like small bills, and like so I'm glad I had to figure that out. And I think like even though I didn't graduate and I didn't end up with a degree, I gained so much knowledge as a musician, and I met a lot of great musicians. I learned a lot about myself and music. Like I would say that I came out on the other end with something just as valuable as a degree, because for what I ended up doing, a degree was useless. Nobody cares about having a degree. Labels don't care, publishers don't care, fans don't care. So to me, I think I did come out of it with a lot of like valuable lessons and things.
Life is often the best education. Like, I mean, especially when you're like a songwriter, like anything creative, not learning that at school, really.
Yeah, that was actually my question, was about your parents, and like what were they, how were they feeling, what were they supportive? And that's great that they
my My dad, my dad is awesome, and he just kind of said, he was like, well, he's like, look, Meg, he's like, I just want the best for you, and he's like, um, he said, he said, you've always been very driven when you want something and you really are passionate about something. I know you work hard for it. He's like, so he's like, if that's what you want to do, he's like, I'm in your corner. He's like, just don't half-ass it,
Yep.
and and also like I'm not paying for it, which is like, again, I'm grateful for that. He did me a favor,
Yeah.
with that advice, and was there for a lot of shows, and supported me, and obviously he's very proud of me now, and yeah, I'm grateful for that, because I think there's a lot of parents out there that would have been like, no, you're not going to do this, you're going to finish and you're going to get a degree. And I just said, I was like, look, Dad, I'm like, I understand. And I think part of it too came from, neither of my parents like came from wealth or even like highly educated families necessarily. Like it's just, they're like, on my dad's side, they were immigrants, and like, on both my parents on both sides of their family were the first to go to like secondary educate, like to have any education past high school.
Right.
And so I think they put a high value on that. They were proud of that, as they should be. That my dad started his own company, was very self-made, like owns his own company. And so and for them the path was like, go to university, get the degrees, and that led them to the life that they built. But I think they also understood that it wasn't that way for me. I wasn't going to be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or anything, and the thing that I wanted to do didn't require a degree, or it required like experience in meeting other great musicians. Ducky, dude, give me a rest. Sorry, my dog is like licking over there in the corner. I will get some water in a little bit. Yeah, I said to my dad, I was like, I want a publishing deal. Like I want to be a songwriter, and I want to be an artist. I want to go get a publishing deal. I want a record deal. I want to be on the road. I want to tour and make records and sell records, and a degree is not going to help me do that. And so, and at that point, I had actually switched from McGill into Humber College at one point, because I was a little bit more interested in their program, because they, like, for example, I played in a bluegrass ensemble when I was there. So it was a little less like super traditional, like you do jazz or you do opera. Like it was a little bit more applicable to like things outside of those more traditional routes. And through that, like I ended up starting a bluegrass band with some friends from back home. And there's one summer where we planned a whole like East Coast tour, and we did a West Coast tour. Like we really like toured a lot, and we did it all ourselves. We made records, and we built like a pretty legitimate following, just on our own. We played Boots and Hearts the first year that it started. We were in the Emerging Artist Showcase as the Stone Sparrows.
What's it called? Sorry.
What was your band name?
Yeah.
The Stone Sparrows.
Stone Sparrows.
Oh yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I've worked with Boots and Hearts since year one, and I was like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, Shannon McNevin, we were kind of like the cool local band, and so he was like, yeah, we'll put you in the Emerging Artist Showcase. So we did that, and that was kind of where I really was like, okay, yes, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And after that summer, I was just like, I just don't see the value in like going back to school. I want to, I was trying to go to school full time, play all these gigs, and work another job, and it just wasn't, I couldn't do all three, and not working wasn't an option. So I was like, I'm just gonna work and like see what I can do with the music thing. And yeah, I mean, it took some time, and I struggled and was like pretty broke for a few years, but finally, I got my break, and I got my first record deal, and yeah.
The hustle is extremely admirable. Like
Thank you. Well, yeah, listen, I'm not saying that it's easy and that I don't sometimes, that I didn't feel extremely frustrated and lost many times over. But I mean, at the end of the day, it just always came down to the same question I would ask myself. And I still have to ask myself this question now, even, like, which is, are you going to quit? And then I really allow myself to try and consider what else I would do with my life and how I would feel not doing this for a living, not going out and playing shows, not getting up and writing songs every day. And I'm like, who are you kidding? please stop. Like, you're gonna do it. Sorry that it's hard right now. Figure it out. You always do. And it's peaks and valleys, and it's going to be like that for the rest of my career. I'm never going to be guaranteed anything. It's probably not going to ever be easy for me. And sometimes you're going to be at the top of the mountain, and sometimes you're going to be at the bottom wondering if you're ever going to claw your way back up. But I mean, I can't imagine doing anything else. And I think that struggle and that frustration, I think it makes great art, and it makes you a better person. It humbles you. For
You'd
sure.
be so boring if it were easy. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's just part of it.
Totally. I feel like this is a good time to ask you about MFP. And I remember you starting this last year at some point, maybe, or I think it was last year, right? And all of a sudden it was like, this is MFP. And I was like, what is this hashtag? And I would see it on TikTok a little bit.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about what that is and where that came from and why that's so like monumental. It's funny and it's cool, but it's also like it's important.
It honestly,
and like what it stands for.
Yeah, let's start there.
Where it started was actually I was playing Boots and Hearts, and it was my first time back, where I felt like things like we had an amazing crowd, like we had a great slot, we were on the main stage. It's kind of like a hometown festival for me. And I mean, because it started, just outside of Bowmanville, right?
Yeah.
And I was on the stage, and I was just like, I think I said something like, thank you guys so much for being here. I know that like there's probably some of you who maybe don't know who I am, and you might be wondering, who the fuck is Meghan Patrick? And I was like, well, I'm Meghan fucking Patrick. I just like said it on stage. I don't know. It just kind of like came off the top of my head.
Like, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah, and they all just like started like cheering or whatever, and my manager was there, and she is, I have to say, like, a lot of the great stuff that we end up doing on social media comes from her. She is the social media brain. I hate social media personally, and if I didn't need it for my job, I wouldn't even have it. But it's a necessary evil, and my manager Randy is amazing at like finding ways to use it in a way that doesn't feel like cringy to me, but that is effective. And she just started, she's like, we're making this a thing, Meghan fucking Patrick, and started saying, oh, the next year is gonna be the year of MFP. And like, it was just, it all happened at a time. Like, there was a lot of changes happening for me, and in my career, to be honest, and without going like too deep into it, because it's a long story, but the last few years before that were like really, really tough for a number of reasons. I mean, obviously the pandemic was not awesome for anybody. Like, that was a rough go for everybody, but especially for touring artists and stuff. And like, I mean, I couldn't even go back to Canada for a long time. I couldn't see my family. I couldn't tour. We couldn't do anything. And that was a huge loss of income for a lot of us. I mean, I know a lot of people that were here that like had to move back home. Like, they couldn't even afford to stay here. They had to go home and like move back in with their family or whatever. Like, it was just, and there was a lot of changes within my label. The person that had signed me left the label, and that was kind of my champion. And I felt like, my music wasn't doing as well at radio. Like, it just kind of felt like everything was falling apart, honestly. And it was a really hard time, and I was really depressed about it. And sometimes that makes you kind of desperate, because you just so badly want to get back what you had. I'd had a lot of success in the years before that, and I felt like it was just slipping away. And I honestly, I think I lost myself a little bit, like, in who I was as an artist and what I wanted to do, because I was just so focused on like, I just need to do whatever everyone tells me to do so I can just get this back, so I can just get back on the horse, and it was really kind of soul crushing. And I just didn't have the right team around me. And so I made a lot of changes, and Randy, my manager, she was a huge part of the catalyst for a lot of the really positive changes that came after that. And she's one of my best friends. She was one of the first friends I made when I moved to Nashville, and we've been through a lot together. She knows me inside out as a human being, and she's just really good at her job, and the difference it made to have somebody in your corner that truly sees you for you, not only sees you for you, but is willing to like walk into the fire with you and take the leap with you and take the chances and blaze your own trail in this industry. I mean, it's very hard to come by. And yeah, so she was a big part of like creating the MFP energy. It just kind of became our team's motto. And to me, to us, it was just like unapologetically, aggressively being yourself and taking the chances and having the courage to be every part of yourself. And for me, that was being more vulnerable in my songwriting and with my fans. And I mean, I know that like a lot of people view me as like this tough, don't care what nobody thinks girl. Like I do be caring sometimes, a little bit too much. And so I just felt like there were also just all these other sides and pieces to like my personality and my story that I wasn't sharing because they were more vulnerable. And and we're starting to scratch the surface on that, I think, with some of the stuff I've already released. And we're gonna go even deeper with the new music that we have coming out. And I think people are gonna learn a lot more about me, and their opinion of who they thought I was might change a little. I think it's gonna kind of go from like 2D to 3D, like I think people have this one sort of 2D idea of who Meghan Patrick is, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff behind there that they're not seeing, and I'm gonna try and show more of that.
Speaking of,
I love it. Like I want to get a Logan
MFP.
fucking Miller t-shirt.
Dude, let me tell you, do it. Go for it. Take that energy.
Okay, speaking of new music, why don't we talk? I was gonna ask you about this anyways because I saw a video and it was about you teased a song called "The Other Side of 25," but you were asking people about the advice that they wish they had gotten when they were young, or First of all, what is about 25 that's so pivotal that people are like, oh, it's after this is when I start to like use my brain. I start to figure it out.
Part of it is that it rhymes really well with the word side, and so just it sounded really good in the song. No, I'm just kidding. No, that is definitely part of it. No, I think it was just like, I think after, I just know that like for me, when I was getting close to turning 25, like when I was in my young 20s, it's like you go from high school into college, and college, it's like, like I don't know, I was definitely like kind of partying a lot, and like, yeah, like I had goals, but I was also just kind of like, I'm gonna live my life, whatever, fuck the future, who cares, like it's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be fine. And then when you start getting closer to 25, you're like, oh, okay, like I have to kind of grow up a little bit. Like I need to start calling and making my own doctor's appointments, and like getting the oil changed in my car regularly, and like, these little things like that. But also it's like, I think as a society, we attach so much, like so many expectations to certain ages. Like, oh, and like I did it for myself. Like I used to think, oh, well, like I'll definitely be married and like having a kid by 25, which is hilarious to me now because thank God I didn't. But and for some people that is the right time to do that, and that's great. It was not the right time for me. I should not have been committed to anybody that I was attracted to at 25, and
I also have a lot of friends that agree with you who are married.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, whatever, each their own. But I also think too, like, and this is more specific to me and like in this industry, but like unfortunately for women in this industry, there's a lot of narrative about like needing to be young to be seen as eligible, and like I don't know, there's
a lot of weight on youth.
Yeah, there is much more for women than there is on men.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure to, it's like, well, not everybody's going to be Taylor Swift. Actually, most people, almost nobody is probably ever going to be Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? And again, it's like, it's just there. Yeah. Because for women, the look is just, there's put so much importance is put on your looks and youth and being perceived as being youthful and attractive. And like, if you are too old or you look a little too, or like you look like you've got some years on you, like fans aren't gonna want you, or the industry is not gonna want you. And like, I mean, that's just like such bullshit, and it's so shitty that gets put on us. And so I know for me that I definitely felt like I had once had a manager that wanted me to lie about my age, and I was like, why? Like,
Feels
for
icky.
what?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that, first of all, I'm
Plus,
not gonna do that.
Wikipedia is
That's
going to
gross.
know
Yeah,
anyways.
also like a quick Google will let you know that I am lying, and that's even worse like than just being too old, is that like I lied about it, you know? And so I think for me it was like the writing of that song was getting to a place where like I put all this pressure of thinking like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't done XYZ by this age, and realizing that like there really are no rules and it's different for everybody. And like when you get to where you're going and you get the things that you're wanting, the age that you get them at does not matter. It is no less fulfilling because it happens at 30 or 35 than it would have been at 25. And sometimes that's just how long it takes. Sometimes it's necessary for you to go through certain things and learn certain lessons and change course as many times as you need to get where you're going. And there's a lot of joy in that if you're willing to embrace that and like just let it be what it is. And I think also like I used to think that once I got past a certain age, it's like, okay, no more fun anymore. Like now we need to be serious adults. And like you're first of all, just naturally your perception of what fun is starts shifting anyway from, you know, what it was at 22 to what it is now, you know. But there's also like there are just different things about getting older that are equally as exciting and like as fun as the things that you were excited about when you were younger. And like for me, one of the major things is like just knowledge of self, learning who you really are, and first learning who you really are, and then learning to accept who you really are, and then learning to love who you really are. And once you do that, then you just don't freaking care what anyone else really thinks. You truly don't. Like, yeah, you might get your feelings hurt if someone doesn't like you, but I'm not gonna like let it dictate my life. You know, I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay, well, that sucks for you that you feel that way. I'm good over here. You know, and I wanted to write the song as kind of like to the younger generation of like, hey, just so you know, like your life doesn't end at 25 or 30 or 35, you know, like it just gets better in different ways. And you know, and also as like for anyone who is on the other side of 25, like to be able to realize like there's a lot of value in like we've earned those years, we've earned that number, and there's a lot of good stuff that comes with it.
Agreed. I love
And on
it.
and
Big
on that-
Meghan energy.
Big Megan. So the other side of 25 is coming out.
January 19th. Yes.
Yay. Okay, amazing. That's so exciting. First song of 2024. Big message.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the start of what's to come, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great representation of what's to come this year. And you know, I think there's a lot more sort of like introspective songs, kind of life songs. I'm still gonna we still got some heartbreak songs, we got some love songs, we got some songs you can drink to, party to. We're always gonna make sure we have a little bit of everything. But yeah, I think that a lot of the new stuff there's an added depth and just a more like, I don't know, just digging a little deeper.
Yeah. Do you think also that comes with like age, but in a good way, where it's like you understand things better, you have more to say because you've experienced more of the world and that kind of stuff too?
For sure. I mean, I'm not the same person I was 5-10 years ago. Obviously, I've been through a lot and I've changed a lot. I've done a lot of therapy, and you know, so I think I come from a different place now a lot of times when I'm writing songs. And I'm happy about that. And I also just time put in. I mean, songwriting is a craft and a skill just like anything else. And the more you do it and the more you work at it, the better you're going to get. And so I also feel like not only am I coming in with a slightly different approach and like perspective to my songwriting, but you know, those skill sets have been sharpened over the years. And I feel like I'm really like excited and proud of the place I'm at with my songwriting.
That's also why it's so ridiculous, the whole idea, back a few minutes ago, the whole idea of like aging out or being too old. Like, to be a songwriter, you're writing about things that happen to you, about life. Things that happen in life don't happen when you're 21 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, I have more to offer
Yeah.
as a songwriter and as an artist who, I often I like to have a message a lot of times
Mhm.
in my songs. There's an underlying message, and a lot of that points towards, self-growth, self-awareness, strength. Like, I love to write songs as a female that come from a place of strength, and I love to put the female sort of narrator or myself coming from a place of strength. But I've also learned that there is strength in being more vulnerable and acknowledging your own weaknesses and your own like issues and shortcomings, and how that comes together to make you a complete person. And like acknowledging the ways that you've grown, but also acknowledging the ways that you're still, a work in progress. So yeah, I think you'll see more of that kind of like introspection and that growth in my writing.
If you could tell pre-25-year-old Megan one thing now, like one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oh, there's so many things. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just that, like, the sooner I love and accept myself, the sooner I will find myself surrounded with good people who will also love and accept me. And, because I spent a lot of my 20s trying to just figure out where I fit in and trying to make myself fit different molds that ultimately were not right for me. And it's hard to be happy when you are not acknowledging who you really are. But at the same time, it's scary to kind of really dig deep and acknowledge who you really are, and because it might not fit the picture you've painted for yourself. It might not fit the idea of who you think would be your best self. Like you
Mhm.
build up an idea in your head of who you think you want to be and what that's going to look like. And sometimes it just isn't the case. It's just not the truth, and that can be hard to acknowledge and accept sometimes. Because I mean, it's just when you truly start digging in and trying to learn who you really are, you're going to find a lot of really great things, but you're going to find a lot of bad things too. And once you, it's kind of like Pandora's box. Like once you open it up and you start pulling these things out, you can't really just shove them back.
Yeah. They
You gotta work. You
the
gotta.
pieces never quite go back the way
They
they
don't. They
were.
don't really fit back. It's like it's something you can't unknow or unsee. The only way, is through it. You got to just kind of work through it in therapy or writing a
Yeah.
song or,
That's both the
whatever
best
it is.
and worst part of therapy.
Yeah, yeah. Therapy is annoying. It's like, oh, okay, here's another thing about me that
I
I
don't
don't
want to
love.
do.
Yes, I'm oh
Yeah,
great, I'm this piece of shit too. Oh, and that piece of
yeah,
shit. Oh,
yeah,
sometimes I'm good.
yeah, yeah.
You
That's it.
just saw my therapy sessions.
Nice. No, but that's also like the therapy piece. Like working in the entertainment industry is not for the faint of heart. And so like you have to be able to find those things that help you, because it's such a like, to give your 24, 25, 26-year-old self credit, like you were in an industry that is not forgiving, and that's such an impressionable age for people still, right? And so
Yeah.
it can get you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too is, I spent so much of my life and my career like feeling like, "Oh, I wish this happened when I was younger. Like I wish I was younger. Like I'm way older than like my other female counterparts that I'm coming up with in the industry." And I used to see that as like a downfall or like a negative. But honestly, I'm glad nobody handed me a record deal at 18 because I was an idiot. And it just like, God knows what would have happened to me if I had had to do a lot of that growing and learning in the public eye. And that's
Hmm.
why I'm like, I'm always people can be so quick to judge celebrities, and especially really young ones. And it's like, I'm sorry, how would you feel if your 18-year-old self was put on display for every mistake you made on all over the internet? Like if you were perfect at 18, like congrats, you're an anomaly. You know what I mean? So in that sense, I don't have regrets because I think everything happens right when it's supposed to, and when you're meant to go through it, when you're ready to handle it. I pray all the time, and I've been given a gift, and but I pray for the kind of success that I can be proud of. I pray for a career that makes me the kind of person I want to be. And so I believe God gives me these things when I'm ready and able to handle them, and to do justice to the gifts I've been given. So
I think that's such a thing to teach young artists now, and expecting things right now, and just somebody who has been through those experiences, and just knowing that you don't want that right now. You want that right now, but you don't need that right now.
yeah, just because you want it does not mean you're ready for it, and does not mean it's going to be. I also think too, like a lot of the things we strive for in this industry, it feels different than you think it will when you get them. And so it's, yeah, like we're all always going to strive for like the on paper successes, the awards, and the radio number ones, and accolades, and all those things. But the older I get and the more music I make, the more records I've made, I've been lucky and blessed to have won awards and had radio hits, and stuff like that. But really what truly like resonates with me at the end of the day is just making music that I'm proud of and that I love, and that has like a positive effect on my fans, putting out like songs like The Boy Who Cried Drunk, being able to reach so many fans, and all these women that were survivors of domestic violence or still in it. I mean, when you have somebody who messages you and says like, I just left my abuser because your song inspired me and it gave me strength. I mean, and I say this with the utmost respect to the awards I've been blessed to win. It's like, you can't beat that feeling. You can't beat that feeling of knowing that you might have really like changed someone's life, saved someone's life. That all like funneled into me being able to do my first fundraiser. And that was just so rewarding for me, because like I said, it's human interaction. When you can see that your music and what you've created is genuinely helping other human beings, it's putting good out into the world. It's doing something besides like feeding your ego and your bank account. And look, I also like feeding those things too. Like a girl's gotta eat, girl's gotta pay the mortgage. Like we have to, my husband and I actually had a conversation about that the other day, and it's a balance can be hard to find as an artist. Like, yes, we do this for the passion and for the love of it, and for the art and everything, but it's also our job, it's our livelihood, and we have to also make money at it. And so it can be a very fine line to walk to try and feel like you're making the money and making the business decisions that give you what you need to build a family and a home and all those things without like completely crushing your soul, so.
Why can we just go back to that first fundraiser thing? Because I think that's something important to highlight too, is you did have a really cool event. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, when we made the decision to release The Boy Who Cried Drunk, that happened like really quickly. And when I say quickly, I mean like within a matter of weeks. Like I wrote the song and I turned it in, and everyone kind of like freaked out over it. And, we happened to be coming up on Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so, my manager, we just decided, we're going to put the song out. And I was like, well, I want to do some kind of like fundraising, do you think we can try and pull something together really quickly? And, my manager did some research and came back with the YWCA. They're an incredible organization. And unfortunately, I mean, the domestic violence numbers in Tennessee are horrific. I mean, it's bad. And, I've done fundraising in the past in different parts of Canada. I donated my first truck to Denise House, which is a women's shelter close to back home. And so I've done some of that stuff kind of quietly and under the radar. That's kind of always been my charity of choice. But when that song really started taking off, I felt like, okay, now we really have like a platform, and I want to take advantage of this and roll with it. And so very quickly we pulled together a writers round night at the Nashville Palace, which is a really cool venue close to the Opry. And I called in all my favors, all of my most famous, most talented friends. And we got together. Yeah, we got together an incredible lineup. They were all like super excited to be a part of it. We sold it out, which I didn't think was going to happen with how little time we had to put it together.
Congrats, that's great.
We raised way more money. I think I mean, I think the grand total was over 15,000, which was just, I didn't even expect that. I mean, we did a silent auction. We did the tickets, and then had the show, and it was incredible. I actually got to go and meet the women at the YWCA that run it, and we got to tour the facility, and it's just, their program is just incredible. They really think of everything. It's not just a place to go and a shelter. They have all these incredible programs to, from therapy to, helping women get them proper clothes, to find a proper job, and learning just everything that they need to be able to go back out into the world and feel safe and self-sufficient, and like they can take care of themselves and their families and their children. Like, it really is such an impressive program. So I'm really proud that we were able to donate there, and that's it. We're going to make it an annual thing. So every year we're going to try and make it bigger and bigger. And I'm proud of that. I've watched my husband Mitchell, he has the 10 penny fund. He's raised a ton of money for cancer research. That's a cause that's close to him. He lost his father to cancer, and his mother, thank God, just beat breast cancer at the end of last year. So she's in remission. And so, I was really inspired watching the way he was able to grow his foundation. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
Is there somewhere people can go to, help out with some money or with some funds, or?
So we did have like a ongoing fundraiser going through my Instagram, for the last couple months. That's closed now. So we don't have like an ongoing thing yet. We're kind of still working on this is all kind of new territory for all of us. So, we did, like, as I said, we're definitely going to do another event. We'll be doing an annual thing. But yes, at some point I would like to kind of like start my own actual like foundation and fund that we can, we'll work it out where we always are donating from like ticket sales and merch and stuff like that. So that's still a work in progress, but that's definitely on the to-do list.
It would be really cool if you could do that, because the YW is across North America, right? So it'd be really cool if you could just, like, when you're on tour and stuff, having like the local, that'd be really cool. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's
No,
go.
I love it.
Business brainstorm.
Yes, brainstorm session. No, that's really cool. It's important, I think, too. Like this, I think it's easy. It happens more when people don't have it easy as they go through life in their careers, but when you get to a point where you can make an impact elsewhere and give back through your platform, like, it's so important.
Well, I think it comes down to this for me. Like, I think about, what are people going to say about me when I'm gone? What will my legacy be as an artist? And yes, I hope that they say I had lots of hit songs and I sold lots of tickets and played lots of shows and made lots of great records, and those things are all important to me. But I just also, I want the mark that I leave, the legacy that I leave, to be more about just the success that I had. I want it to be about what I was able to do with the platform and the success that I had, and that I was able to take that, as I had shared on my social media, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and that was something that, my life could have been so different if I didn't get out. I mean, I don't know that I would even be here right now if I didn't. And so it feels full circle for me to be able to take the opportunities and blessings that I've been given and give back.
Absolutely. And also, we're happy you're here.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay, I think we've kept you long enough. Sorry.
I think my dogs honestly might keel over and die if I don't feed them. So.
Your dogs are they're wasting away.
They are. Mom, you need to take care of us.
Practically emaciated. I can see.
Well, Meghan Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed the conversation. Where can people find you?
Meg Patrick Music on Instagram and TikTok, Meghan Patrick on Facebook, all the things. I also have, like, I don't know, X and whatever it's called. I'm on all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can find you on the road quite a bit this year. You're on tour with Ian Munsick.
Ian Munsick. I've got some dates with Cole Swindell in Canada, which I'm super excited about. We actually, if you go to my Instagram, we actually just posted all of the current dates we have for the beginning of the year. So go check it out and get your tickets.
Hopefully see you on the road.
See you on the road. Thanks,
Thank you
Meghan
so
fucking
much.
Patrick.
Love it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of On the Porch with Front Porch Music. We're so lucky to be able to chat with artists and make episodes like this one. If you like the podcast, remember to rate and review us, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. It's the easiest way to support the show. Remember to check out frontporchmusic.ca to keep up with new music releases, exclusive artist interviews, and more. We'll catch you again on the porch in a couple of weeks. On the Porch is hosted by Logan Miller and Jenna Weiser, and produced and edited by Jason Saunders. That's me. Our theme song was written, produced, and performed by Owen Riglin.